Welcome back to our lovely pub here. The late Sir Terry Pratchett used to have a make an observation that cliches were essentially the hummers and screwdrivers in the toolbox of conversational gambits, and that's why people use them. It's true. We all use cliched expressions when we talk because thinking up new, exciting things to say every day would be quite difficult for most people. Occasionally, we might hit upon something interesting to say. But with that in mind, people also manipulate not just words, but images. And with that in mind, let's have a look at that going on here. Here we have an image of a group of people of various races next to a title most people subscribe, even if subconsciously, to the idea of scientific racism. Now, what is scientific racism? That's something for another day to discuss, but it's a term that bugs the heck out of me because it's a kind of vague, meaningless term that's chucked around recently by people who will call themselves race realists. But the image itself has been cropped. Now, someone on another channel has actually dealt with that at some length. So I'm not going to deal with that too much, except for a minute or two to show how it's been cropped. You have a Jewish jet there in the middle, some black kids, some people that look like they're from Southeast Asia, what could possibly be a mid-American woman holding a kid. She could also be Norwegian or Swedish, someone Chinese or Japanese, etc. But they've cropped it from a magazine cover where it first appeared. It's by the American artist Norman Rockwell. And the bottom of it, where it first appeared in 1961, had this on the bottom: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, it strikes me as inordinately cheeky to do that and crop it. As firstly, anyway, it crops a load of people out of the bottom from other nationalities, such as what looks like a Chinese kid down there on the right, and kids from other nationalities, looks like possibly an Indian kid down there. But they've missed the point of an eternal brotherhood of humanity and an attempt to try and be brothers with people, to serve us an ideology of us all getting on top of each other and shouting at each other and promoting hate. But the problem with using Norman Rockwell, of all people, for that is Norman Rockwell has one other painting which is possibly even more pertinent to this discussion, and that's this one. And when we get rid of that asking me to email or do cookies, which I find it inordinately annoying as well, we have this. Norman Rockwell's the problem we all live with, a groundbreaking civil rights painting. Now, you can see here a picture of a small black girl off to school with four guys who are US Marshals around her, and a rather unfortunate word I'm not going to read out on the wall behind her, but it's there for a very good reason. And a big old squash tomato flung off the wall. Now, the reason it's done like that, and if you look at it carefully, you, the viewer, are at the height of the child. You're not at the height of an adult viewing it. If you look at it carefully, it's being presented to you at that height. It's because this is touching on integrated schooling, and the first example of it in US history, when Ruby Bridges had to go to school like that in New Orleans and had to be escorted like that. So using Norman Rockwell to try and present race realist rubbish is particularly unsuitable. And particularly as Norman Rockwell was associated with a particular view of America as a nation he saw as a place where freedom of speech and freedom of equality was something as he saw as America has trying to work towards, perhaps failing, perhaps making lots of muck-ups along the way, but something he wanted to see as working towards. Yet someone's taken a picture by him and chopped the bottom bit out to put it on a video about race realism. Lovely. I would say I agree with the other presenter who talked about him. I don't think Norman Rockwell will be too abused to see his work being used in that way. there will be a short follow-up about this, about where someone made the point about the banner on my own channel. The difference is I'm not pretending the painter on my own channel is anything but what he is. I'm not trying to chop bits out or sit there and talk about things and wear images that present other points of view. If I say I'm for one thing, I'm for that. I'm not trying to be for six things at once. However, that seems to be the game of the alt-right. Use these images and chop it out. Or take Kipling even and reduce complex literary stuff to stuff you can quote and start a little brawl over. Good Christmas message? Perhaps not.